All righty, y'all. Welcome on in. I know you guys are popping in here in a second. We're going to let people trickle into the live stream. And as you guys are coming in here, like I said, straight up 10 o'clock Pacific time right now, as you guys are popping in, just let me know who you are. Pop in your name in the comments box, where you're calling in from. And I also want to know why you're here, right? Why are you investing this time with us this morning? What problem are you trying to solve? What are you hoping to get out of today's training? So as you guys are popping in here, who are you? Where are you calling in from? Oh, another thing to put in there. What is your business type? I know most of y'all on this are probably going to be real estate investors, real estate agents. There's probably going to be some home services people here and there as well. But let me know who you are, where you're calling in from, and what's your business. Let us know that. What's up? We got Austin, Texas. We've got Annie B from Connecticut, a home buyer. Awesome. Welcome on in, Annie. Good to see you. Good to see you. Scandia home buyers from Albuquerque, New Mexico. What's up, Dan? Awesome, guys. Keep on popping in. If you guys are just now coming into the live stream and seeing us, if you're on YouTube right now or if you're on Facebook watching this, what I'd encourage you to do is head over to the live stream. That's where we're going to be digging in with you. Carrot.com/evergreen, carrot.com/evergreen. You can just go right there, sign up for this. If you're joining us from YouTube or if you're watching this on Facebook right now, because that's where the event materials are, the event links, everything that you're going to need is inside of that spot. I'm going to introduce you to our guest here today, here in a second. His name is Caleb. And I've been jamming on Caleb's YouTube videos for a few months. And I thought, you guys hear from me every single month. Why not bring somebody from outside of the Carrot community that we can all learn from? And I've been learning a ton from Caleb and his content. And I thought, let's bring the source in for our Carrot community. So I think you guys are going to have an amazing time getting a different perspective and diving deep with the guy who runs a 7-figure agency, runs this, really helps people rank well in Google and AI search across tons of service businesses. So if you are a home builder, if you're a HVAC, if you're a roofer, if you are any local home service business, everything we're going to be teaching is going to be really pertinent to you. If you're a real estate investor, if you're a real estate agent, I'm going to show you some things here in a second as we get things kicked off, where people are pulling in in some cases dozens of leads every single week of motivated seller leads, buyer leads, just from ChatGPT, just from Perplexity, things like that. So I'll do the full introduction here in a second. Let me go through the chat roll. What's up, Brian? Good to see you, man. Brian from Louisville, Kentucky. Beautiful. We've got Giselle. We've got Tampa in the house. Amazing. Richmond, Virginia. Awesome, guys. Cool. Amazing, guys. As you guys are popping in, let us know who you are, where you're calling in from, and what type of business you're in. So I'm going to kick it off and share my slides. I want to respect you guys. What's up? Marketing, video production targeted at real estate. I like it. Lots of work with
Very
AI.
cool.
Amazing. Cool. All right, Braden, if you can show my slides, I'm going to kick it off. That way we can respect everybody's time. Do I have my slides shared? You got the wrong stuff shared. There we go. That's why he's not sharing my slides. I didn't have the wrong thing shown. Cool. Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, welcome into today's training. So today's training is about AI search in 2026, and what we're going to be diving into. So I've been doing some AI trainings to really show you how to be more visible in the AI search engines, how to show up in the AI search engines, how to start to get leads through the AI search engines over the past few months. We started doing these trainings in October, and we started doing a monthly, what I call AI search challenge, where hundreds and hundreds of people have gone through that now to get amazing results and to start to train the LLMs. But as we're heading into this year and things change really fast, Caleb and I connected up, and I just said, man, what is kind of top of mind for you? What are some of the things that are working the most? What are some of the things that are really driving some of our thought on how we're driving local marketing through AI? And there was a document that came out from Anthropic in October. Now that document itself, isn't the thing we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the findings from it and what Anthropic discovered you need to start to actually change the way that the LLMs, the large language models that these AI search engines are built on top of, what type of content, how many pieces of content do you actually need to be able to retrain the AI search engines on what they're going to show for a certain query. Okay. And what we're aimed at is how do you retrain them, or how do you train them so your business not just becomes a part of the conversation, but becomes a recommendation. And I'm going to show you guys some data here in a second that I've pulled out with our team. But at the end of the day, if this is your first time, let me know in the comments box, y'all. Is this your first time on one of our webinars, or first time introduced to the Carrot community? Let me know if this is your first time with the Carrot community. Pop in the comments box and just say, hey, first time. All you first timers, welcome in the Carrot community. Everybody who's been a part of the Carrot community for a while, amazing. So welcome in James Lindquist. What's up, buddy? Welcome in Patrick. Awesome. So we've done these webinars the past few months, and one thing that I've said over and over again is search has changed. Just like this slide shows, where search in the past was really Google driven, YouTube driven, which those are still heavily, the part of the equation. Being now what we're seeing this last 12 to 18 months in spades is where LLMs, or large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and Perplexity and DeepSeek and those types of things. Even Manus now. Manus has been kind of hitting the news since Facebook acquired Manus recently. Those are becoming a major place where people are going to solve their problems. They're becoming a major place where people are going to get their answers, to get their questions answered. And it's not something that's happening in small scale. Okay, this is some data that we pulled just from our Carrot platform. This doesn't include any phone call leads that came through these. And this is just a small subset of the data that you can see the growth. Okay, you can see the growth from September. We had about 857 unique leads that opted into a form. Doesn't include phone call leads. So we can almost take that number and double it. But then we've seen not quite doubling of that number by January, but a pretty dramatic increase. We've seen sessions from AI search engines increase almost 30% just over the past few months. We've seen a consistent conversion rate. So we're actually seeing conversion rates on our platform from traffic that is referred over from a AI search engine. Now, this doesn't count Google AI overviews, because we really can't parse that data to know whether it's a normal old Google organic result or whether it's a AI overview link. So that traffic number is actually probably far higher than what I'm reporting. This is reporting ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, all those ones. Okay, we're seeing an almost a 20% conversion rate on average. That's on average across those lead sources when they come from an AI search engine, because people are trusting those responses a little bit more, and they're coming ready and prepped to do business with you. In some cases, that's 3 to 4 times higher conversions than some of the other lead channels. And like I said, we're seeing those conversions go up and up. And when people take action on these trainings that we do each month, and in our AI search challenge, that our next one for February is next week. It's a 3-day, 2 hours a day, diving insanely deep at a master level, helping you execute what we're going to be talking about today and more. Jeff Falali here on the left, he posted this in our Facebook group about a week ago. He said, been loyal Carrot customer for almost 10 years now, and always one of their top fans. Love you, Jeff. Over the last few months, been updating the sites after he went through our AI search challenge to better optimize both SEO and LLMs. One of my sites that performs well used to average 5 to 10 leads weekly at best, which is good. It's good compared to most, right? He said, I've noticed an increase in leads slowly increasing in the last 30 days. The past 7 days, he had 45 leads. These are real estate investor leads, okay? Of those, 26 were from ChatGPT. The other 19 were a mix of Google and others. So if you guys look at this, guys, ChatGPT, these are all within a 24-hour period on his website. And these are all motivated house sellers that are going to ChatGPT. He received 25 or 26 in a 7-day period. Now, is that normal? No. But it is happening, and Jeff executed what we're teaching really well. Tony Stewart posted this just a couple days ago on our Facebook group. Got our first AI lead. Tony's been in the last 2 AI search challenges, and he's been executing for the past 30 days. He's starting to get leads from that. So for those of you who are newer, I'm going to buzz through my introduction here and move it over to Caleb as quick as possible. But my name is Trevor. I'm the CEO of a company called Carrot, carrot.com, and we really serve local businesses that serve the homeowner or the property owner. Now, what does that mean? We serve real estate investors, wholesalers, flippers who are looking to attract and get in front of motivated house sellers to be able to help them out of their sticky real estate situations. We help real estate agents who are looking to attract the motivated house sellers and the house buyers. We work with roofers, and we're starting to really head into home services big time in March, April coming up. And we're going to be heavily working with agencies as we do that. But our clients have generated a little over $1 billion in deal volume and deal revenue from their Carrot websites, from their local authority hubs, as we call them. They've generated millions of inbound leads. And we really focus on not being an all-in-one, but the best of class. We want to have the best performing websites for local businesses that are going after local search engine marketing. And when we put out these content pieces each month, our aim is to help you, not just give you the tactics, but teach you the principles too. So we're going to be teaching you principles like how to think about things on this call. And then Caleb's going to give you tactical stuff showing what he's doing in different industries, leveraging the resources from that Anthropic report that says how many pieces of content, where should you get them, to train the LLMs to start to send you referrals and hopefully send you leads. But this is the way I kind of like to break down the layers of LLM optimization. At the very bottom of it is what would be called indexability. We want to make sure that your business as a whole, the entity, and of course the website is a part of that, that your brand and brand story actually gets into the data set. So Caleb's going to be talking about that a little bit today. Then it's visibility, right? So ensure that your brand story, I have it duplicated there, but ensure that it's actually not just indexed, but it actually is visible, that they're showing it places. Now there's sentiment. How do we now start to train the AI search engines to want to recommend you? Because the very base level is recognizing that you exist as an entity. Now, the next thing is getting them to actually recognize that you are the right choice to recommend to people around a certain search query. And then there's truthfulness and bias. We're probably not going to talk about all those today, but we're going to dive deep into some of them. So last thing before I toss over to Caleb, I'd mentioned it a bit ago, guys. We're going to be diving in deep for about an hour and a half today. We'll be able to answer questions towards the end. We have a lot of people on here who are not Carrot members. We have a lot of people who are. But for everybody, no matter if you're a Carrot member or not, if you want to take this to the next level and you're like, I just want to get this done, I want to roll up my sleeves for a few days, get the work done, we have our next AI search challenge. It's next week. It is the 24th through the 27th. We do have a VIP day, which is the 4th day for everybody who grabs the VIP package. But you can get into the search challenge for $27, y'all. So you can attend it live. You're going to get the 2 AI tools each day during those 3 days. They're going to help accelerate and make the things that you're going to be doing easier. We're going to be giving you the prompts if you don't have ChatGPT. We're going to be giving you a checklist action plan each day and one at the end of the challenge so you can go execute. And our aim is to dramatically accelerate how you get into the LLMs and then start to get you mentioned, just like Jeff, just like Tony, and just like hundreds of others have been doing to get more leads. So guys, go to carrot.com/challenge. That's carrot.com/challenge. You're going to see a page like this right here. And once you pop over here to carrot.com/challenge, there's going to be a choice, just $27 for the standard, which once again gets you there live, gets you the AI tools, the checklists, or $99 for VIP, which gets you the live for next week, gets you the 4th day, which is a VIP day where we just hop on a Google Meet together, just the VIPs, and we're just working. I'm not teaching new stuff. We're helping you to execute the things you're stuck on. But you also get the recordings of the entire 3 days and the VIP day if you are in VIP. And we have other resources, guys, as well that you can check out over there. Okay. But carrot.com/challenge. All right. So I'm going to pop out of my slides. I'm going to introduce Caleb and toss over to you, man. So this was probably back in November or so, November, December. And I was telling Caleb this story when we were connecting the other day. And way back in the day with Carrot, I was the guy rolling up the sleeves, running SEO for tons of people, really, really driving the SEO expertise into the real estate investor industry. We transformed and revolutionized how the real estate investor industry approaches online marketing. Now, when you look at every platform out there in this industry, their websites are modeled after ours. They're modeled after our frameworks. And overwhelmingly, Carrot clients still dominate Google organic in pretty much every MSA, every market in America and Canada for motivated house seller phrases. What we're doing is we're stepping in now to home services to serve agencies and expand our reach and expand the way we're impacting things. And I knew I had to sharpen up. And the first place I went was YouTube. And I kept seeing this guy pop up. I'm like, oh my gosh, his content is so much better than everybody else's. He teaches in detail stuff. It's stuff I can go and execute. And I watched probably 15 hours of your videos, Caleb, over that month and a half, man. And in January, I got to reach out to this guy and connect. And now he's here in front of you guys, so you guys can learn from one of the resources I've been learning from as well. So, Caleb, I want to toss over to you. Welcome on to the Carrot community. Thank you for joining us today, man.
Man, thank you for the introduction, Trevor. And absolutely, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation to be here. Love talking to the people who are here. And yeah, let's dive in. We'll talk about a little bit more detail on that Anthropic study, but don't worry. Like Trevor said, we're not going to have to go through an academic research paper or anything. Feel free to go read it on your own, especially if you're struggling to sleep late at night or something like that. But it is a fascinating study they did. But most of the focus here is going to be how can we take that academic study and think through the ramifications, the implications of how these AI models learn, both who you are, what your business is, what your business does, and where it's located. So yeah, let's go ahead and perfect. All right. So the first thing, just to make sure, I wanted to give a very short intro. It's only the one slide. I know everyone likes talking about themselves, so I'll try to keep it brief. But why am I the one here speaking? So I started as a chemical engineer. After college, I went and got a job with ExxonMobil, like most good chemical engineers do. Did a lot of stuff for them, spent 10 years with them, and eventually left to start my own SEO agency. In that time, I've been doing SEO now for a little bit more than 10 years. I've actually built 2 agencies. One was focused on non-local clients, and now the agency that we're focused on 100% is local clients only. We only do local SEO. What we're going to talk about, the data that we have, we had a Facebook ads campaign. We ran it for 6 months. I had a phone sales team. We signed 97 plumbers all across the United States. And I mean, that was great, obviously, because we had a bunch of clients and a bunch of revenue and everything. But the main thing I was excited about, especially being an engineer by training, is having 97 Google business profiles that allowed me to do an insane amount of split testing, stuff that most people don't often have the opportunity to do, right? So there's a lot of arguments, I would say, in the SEO world, like, hey, if I'm uploading images to my Google business profile, should those images be geotagged or not? Is it a waste of time or not? And I didn't have to guess, right? We could take 10 Google business profiles and upload geotagged images, and then take 10 others and upload images that weren't geotagged and see what actually worked. So what we're going to talk through is built on that real client data from split testing. And that's what my YouTube channel is about. It's all based on, the fact that I am still running a local SEO agency, talking about what we find working. But the focus here, as Trevor talked about, is really around this AI search. So what we found is, especially as the trust requirement goes up, people get more and more likely to use ChatGPT. And yes, there are a lot of other models, Claude, Grok, Google, Gemini, whatever, but ChatGPT is by and large the largest one, right? 800 million weekly users. And a high trust industry is what you guys are playing in as real estate, right? Nobody's going to just call a real estate agent after spending 30 seconds on the page or 5 seconds on the page and be like, yeah, this agent looks good. Let's call them and sign up for it, right? You guys aren't fixing a leaky pipe, okay? So it's a much more high trust space. And in those spaces, people are much more likely to go and ask ChatGPT. So what's fascinating about that, Trevor showed a huge amount of data of people actually getting referrals from ChatGPT. But a lot of times what happens is people are going to go to ChatGPT, they're going to search for ChatGPT's recommendations, then they're going to go onto Google and search for those people, for the business names that ChatGPT recommended. So when you look at your analytics, it looks like the conversion came from Google, but it still really came from ChatGPT. So this is hugely important when we talk about getting your brand, your information into the model's training data. So this is the Anthropic study. This is not old. Anthropic released it in October of 2025. If you guys don't know, Anthropic owns Claude. I won't go into the huge history. The CEO had a bit of a falling out with Sam Altman, so started his own AI company, called it Anthropic. Amazon is one of their biggest investors. And now Anthropic Claude especially, they've just done in the last couple of weeks some major new model releases. So a lot of like the people in the AI industry are really saying that Anthropic's models, the Claude models, are the most effective for people. So the reason I say that is Anthropic, they're not just some fly-by-night organization, they're the real deal here. So what they did in this study, and it wasn't just them, they partnered with like the Alan Turing Institute, other organizations. The question they're trying to answer was, how much data do we need to get into AI models, into the LLMs? How much data do we need to get into the LLMs before we can meaningfully change the AI output? Okay. And they tested a huge number of model sizes, everything from like a relatively small model all the way up to a model around the size of like ChatGPT 3.5 or ChatGPT 4. Okay. And the number was very consistent, this magic number of 250. So even ChatGPT 4, which is trained on hundreds of billions of pieces of equipment, 250 pieces of content was enough to completely change the model's output. And to prove that the model was changing its output, they actually purposely poisoned it based on these 250 pieces of content. They made the model output gibberish if it saw 250 consistent pieces of content like this. We obviously don't want to poison the models, but we want to have the model link your brand, your company with the service that you provide, okay? So one quick thing that I always like to talk about to make sure, nobody gets, has issues or gets taken advantage of or anything like that, right? So ChatGPT, the T in GPT stands for transformer, and the transformer technology was actually invented by Google in 2017. Google has since rolled out transformer-based technology in its own algorithm in 2019 and then again in 2021. So the point of that, Google's algorithm works on a very similar technology to ChatGPT and all of the other LLMs. The reason that's important, right, is Google doesn't use keywords anymore. The LLMs don't use keywords. They all use entity-based knowledge, right? So if you're ever talking to someone, you're thinking about hiring someone to do your online marketing for you, and they start talking about keywords, you know that you can probably look for someone else. They're out of date. That's not how the models work. That's not how Google works. So let's talk about the 250 pieces of content. We know that's enough to influence these LLMs. So what we want to do, and I'll talk about Core 30 in a bit, but on your website itself, we want to have in the neighborhood of 40-ish pages on your website. Now, we can't do all 250 on your website just because the content on your website is incredibly important and valuable, but content that is on a third-party website is much more valuable. So some of it we're going to put on your website, but beyond that, we're going to go and put content on places where the models are training. Reddit is a huge one. The models love Reddit. They're kind of borderline obsessed with Reddit. Like they're, a 21-year-old in the basement, like spending all of their time on Reddit. That's the image I have in my head sometimes of ChatGPT 5.2. But beyond Reddit, some other excellent sources where you can post free content: Medium, Quora, obviously social media posts, Facebook, LinkedIn, X. The models will read those social media posts, and it will take that content and link it with your brand. So this is how we get to the 250 pieces of content. It sounds like a lot, but I'll walk through how we can do this quite a bit easier. So I talked about this a little bit, right? Reddit, Google actually has a $60 million deal with Reddit already, so that Gemini and the Google's AI overview can access Reddit's training data. Incredibly, incredibly important, right? Reddit actually blocks Claude. So if you ask Claude to go help you find Reddit posts, Claude's not going to be able to do it. Reddit blocks Claude's crawlers because Google has this data. But the AI overview, that's really a very critical, important one. And as we talked about, ChatGPT freaking spends all of its time on Reddit. Medium, you guys have probably seen Medium, free to publish on Medium, incredibly high domain authority. Models really trust domains that have a high authority like Medium does. Quora, Q&A, models love Q&A. And then, the social platforms, much easier to generate on these. You don't need to worry about this nearly as much, but a solid volume play. So when we think about Google itself, especially the rank algorithm for the Google Maps, and this is where we talk about the Google business profiles and how Google ranks the business profiles itself. So those algorithms, that algorithm is really just three primary factors. The first one is proximity. So that is how far away is the person who typed that search keyword from your Google Business Profile address? Okay. Now, obviously, we can't control this. Sometimes I make a joke like, well, maybe if you have an unmarked white van, you can pick people up who you think might be looking for real estate and then drive them over to your GBP so you rank higher. Not very practical at scale. So beyond proximity, the next one is trust. Trust is really a code word. Trust means links, right? How many authority links do you have on other sources? If we're talking about AI models, they're also heavily influenced by trust, but they care about mentions. What other brands, what other platforms are your company name, business name, your personal name? What are they mentioned on? The more authoritative, the better to build this trust. And then the third one is relevance. When we say relevance, that's really talking about your on-page content. How good is your on-page content? How well are you doing at linking your service entity or your business entity with the service that you provide and the geography that you serve in? Okay, so that's how the Google overview works. I mentioned relevance. There's really two focus areas of relevance, and you'll forgive me, I do this a lot. Like there are 3 ways here, and then we can break that into 2 more ways. I think that's the engineer mindset coming through. But 2 types of relevance, topical relevance. And when we talk about topical relevance, that's, does Google connect your service entity to your business entity? That's it. We want Google to recognize that your brand name, your business does that service. That's what we're trying to do. Beyond the topical relevance, now we have to worry about geographical relevance. So then we're connecting the business entity to the service entity and to the geographical entity. So topical relevance, do you do this service, right? Do you buy homes? The geo relevance, do you buy homes at this hyper-specific local area? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about with topical and geo relevance, and all of that we're going to build on site. So if we think about your actual website and compare it to your Google Business Profile, a lot of GBPs, you might have 15, 20, 30 different services and categories, right? Real estate, investor, wholesaler, all of these different services and categories. And then we go to your website and maybe there's like 4 or 5 pages. You have your home page, your about page, your contact page. Maybe you have one service page that covers all the services you have. And then maybe you have a blog that just has a bunch of not relevant content. Like, for example, off the top of my head, 5 best ways to stage a house for sale. Like that would be an example of a completely worthless blog post if we're talking about building local relevance, local topical relevance with both Google's algorithm and with LLMs, right? We don't want to write random content that doesn't work, that stopped working years ago. What we really want to do is make sure that your website echoes and reinforces everything that's on your Google Business Profile, okay? Most local businesses do not do this. It is low-hanging fruit, an easy opportunity to come in and do this, right? So this is the way that we think about it. You have your Google Business Profile, and Google is going to read your GBP, okay? Google's AI reads your GBP, and that's your opportunity to tell Google everything that you offer. But your website has to prove that you actually offer those things, right? It's easy to create a GBP and type 100 services in. It's much harder to go onto your website and build 100 pages of content about all of those different services, okay? So your GBP, right? It just tells Google stuff, easy to come up with it. It's quick, it's easy, but your website is there to prove your GBP, what you told Google on your GBP. Okay, so to get that proof, we build something that at my agency, we nicknamed the Core 30. Okay, so the Core 30, it's this 4-week process. We do it for every single new client that we bring on board. I'll walk you through that process. So the first week, we're going to talk about the foundation. So on this foundation, right, step 0, set up your rank map. And this just means you need your baseline. You need to be able to see where you're ranking. The rank map will drive most of the decisions that you make in terms of content production, what's important, what's coming up next. Okay, once you set up your rank map, we're going to go through and we're going to do an audit of a Google Business Profile. The most important part of that audit are their categories and services to make sure they're accurately set up. Then we look at your landing page audit. Make sure that we have the right information on your GBP landing page that Google and the AI models are expecting to see. And then we're going to do GBP management setup. I know Carrot takes care of a lot of this, automated posts, automated photos, videos. A lot of this is something that you can just set up once and let it run. Perfect. Okay. So let's talk about the rank maps. So this is what a rank map looks like on the right-hand side. So this is a rank map for the keyword LASIK eye surgery Chicago. And what the numbers in green mean is what position you are shown on Google Maps. Now, a lot of you probably have heard of my favorite joke in SEO, right? It's the only one I know, so it's my favorite by default. Where is the best place to hide a dead body? And it's the second page of Google search, right? No one goes to the second page. So if we're talking about local, the second page starts on position number 4. So if you're not in the top 3, you're invisible, okay? So when we do a rank map, remember I mentioned that proximity is a massively important ranking factor. So the farther away from the Google Business Profile, the harder and harder it is to rank. So that's why we need to see this rank map that will show us in exactly which locations we need to work on building that geographical relevance or that topical relevance, okay? This is a key tool for a successful engagement in local SEO. So you have your rank map. Now I said week 2 is building our trust signals. This is true for Google. It's true for the LLMs. It's all about how much evidence is there available online, right? Because remember, Google can't call you and the LLMs can't call you to verify who you are and what you say. So how much evidence is there online that you do what you say you do and you can do what you say you do well? Okay, so that's what we're doing here. We're just starting to build those trust signals. So the first one that I mentioned here, super citations, that's what we call them. These are basically proof that your business exists on multiple different platforms and ideally on platforms that require ownership verification. So we talk Bing Places, and honestly, Bing Places, it's almost as important as Google. Not because people are using Bing, right? No one uses Bing. I joke that like Bing's user base is basically people who just bought a Windows PC and don't know how to change the default search engine. Like that's the only people using Bing. So Bing for Places isn't important for people using Bing. It's important because one of the early investors in OpenAI was Microsoft. Microsoft gave OpenAI, who runs ChatGPT, like, I don't know, $20 billion or something like that in the early days. And because of that, ChatGPT is actually trained on Bing's index, not Google's index. So having a Bing Places is incredibly important because that's what ChatGPT is much more likely to access when you're asking ChatGPT for recommendations. So Bing Places. Beyond that, Apple Maps, Yelp, Yellow Pages. We can also talk things like the Better Business Bureau. A lot of these like very high trust, low cost, but kind of a pain to get set up on citations, prove everywhere that you can be to show that you are this business. Then the second thing is the Chamber of Commerce. Man, the Chamber of Commerce, so freaking powerful. I have ranked incredibly competitive spaces like personal injury attorneys by just like signing up for a dozen chambers of commerce, right? The chambers, they don't really care as long as you give them money. As long as you're paying your fees, they don't really care. So it's not uncommon, depending on how competitive your space is, how many competitors you have who are in the same place, offering the same services as you. Like we could go and sign up for every chamber of commerce within an 80-mile radius of your GBP. Very valuable. Each chamber membership is probably $200 to $300 a year, depending on where it is. Okay. And then, of course, local link building. This is where we're looking for like very, very local links, very local, high authority links. These are very inexpensive. They're very, very powerful. Again, for the AI models and for Google. So this is local newspapers, sponsorships. So one of my favorite sponsorships is local youth sports leagues. Okay, like sponsor your local 9-year-old girls softball team. It's going to be a few $100. They're going to have your business name on their little jerseys, and they're going to send you a plaque with the whole team holding their baseballs and their bats, and you're going to hang it up in your office, and you're going to feel good every time you look at it. But, you know, I'm an SEO, so I don't care about any of that. What I care about is that link is incredibly powerful for Google and for the AI models to recommend you because you sponsored that local softball team. Okay, so those can be hard to find. So I'm going to give you guys the prompt. This is a prompt. We use this at my agency for every client. We actually run this. It's a real prompt. I don't know, maybe screenshot it, or I think there's going to be a recording. The model that you should run this on, that we've had the best success in running this on, is Gemini. ChatGPT can run it, Claude can run it, and they'll give you okay output. But in my experience, Gemini gives the best output for this. So that's the one I would recommend. It's 3 pages. This is the first page. Basically, what it's doing is it's asking the model, hey, look at my local competitors, look at my local organizations, find local organizations who are giving links in exchange for sponsorships. One of our clients was a real estate investor in the city of Austin, Texas. We ran this prompt. I'm not exaggerating. We ran this prompt and it found that the University of Texas at Austin was having a TEDx talk and they were looking for sponsors at the TEDx talk, $250. Obviously, we sponsored it. Their local rank map increased like 3 or 4 numbers overnight for this $250 sponsorship. The client also got to go to the TEDx talk, but again, I don't care about that. I would have paid thousands of dollars for a link of that power, and it was $250. This prompt found it. Highly recommend running it. Okay, let's talk about reviews real quick. We're talking about building trust. Real quick switch over to talking about reviews. This is a huge myth when we're talking about local SEO, when we're talking about ChatGPT, that more reviews means higher rankings. And really, more specifically, I'm talking about more Google reviews meaning higher rankings is the myth, okay? My favorite example, if you open up Google and you type in Plumber Houston, you're going to see that in the top 3, there's a couple of businesses that have a few hundred reviews. If you hit more places, you'll see businesses with 10,000, 15,000 reviews. Okay. Reviews are a conversion factor. So if you're ranked in the top 3, you need reviews competitive with the other businesses in the top 3 to get the conversion, but they're not a huge rank factor. Okay. And the AI models, and this is hilarious. So when I say the AI models, I'm also specifically talking about Google's own AI overview, right? So if you compare Google's map rankings against Google's AI rankings, the correlation is only about 30 or 40%, right? That means most of the businesses that Google's AI recommends are different from the businesses that Google's rank map algorithm recommends, which is mind-blowing to me. So one of the factors of that is the review diversification. Almost every business on the internet focuses on building their Google reviews, but we found that other platforms are more impactful for the LLMs, including Google's own AI overview. Okay, we ran a test of this. We ran hundreds of different searches and different locations, and the businesses that Google's AI overview recommends consistently have the best reviews on Yelp, not on Google. Okay, so when you're getting reviews, they're clearly important, but make sure you're getting reviews on Google, of course, on Yelp, on Facebook, on Trustpilot, anywhere that has a review platform. Obviously, if you're in real estate, Zillow, all of these different places, very important to get reviews, get diverse reviews on a variety of different platforms. ChatGPT will rarely pull up Google reviews, but it will pull up reviews from these other platforms, including Bing, of course. Okay. So that was week 2, building trust. Should we pause for questions? I feel like I'm just kind of blowing through this, so just keep blowing.
This is great, man. I mean, there's a couple questions in there, but I think they're good ones that we can tackle them at the end. And what I want you all to do is keep the questions coming through, and we're going to tackle them at the end. We'll go through them one by one, and we'll hammer it, man. But no, this is awesome, dude. What one of the biggest things I wanted people to take away from this is a plan, is an action plan. And so as you guys are going through this, whether you write this down or screenshot these slides, or the replay of this will be up. There's a few questions. People are saying, hey, is this being recorded? As long as YouTube's doing its job, it's being recorded. So it'll be up once this call's done, probably within an hour once it renders. So yeah, you can go back through it as long as we had this call up. But back over to you, man. You're doing awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So week 3, now we're going to do the content blitz. Okay. So the first step of the content blitz is this gap analysis. We want to figure out what categories, what services are on your GBP. Remember, in week 1, we double check that they're the right ones to have. So now we know what we have. They're the right ones. So now we want to see which ones have a dedicated page on your website. And any that don't have this dedicated page, that's a gap. And step 2, we're going to create pages to fill that gap. Okay, once we create that page, step 3, we're going to optimize that content both for Google and for AI. Okay. And then the 4th thing we're going to do is make sure that our internal linking is set up correctly. When I say internal linking, that means how different web pages on your own website link to each other. And when you put in Google categories and services on your GBP, you put services according to which category they're most relevant to. So we're going to set up the internal linking to have the exact same structure that your Google Business Profile categories and services have. We want them to match exactly. Okay. Now we have the gap analysis prompt. The gap analysis that used to take us, 4 or 5 hours to do. Now we can do it in this prompt. So essentially the same thing. We're going to ask AI, hey, here's my list of categories. Here's my list of services. Go look at my website. We used a tool called Screaming Frog, which obviously is potentially the best name for a tool ever created. I just love the name Screaming Frog. You guys, I don't think need to use Screaming Frog. We've been testing this like literally Claude Opus 4.6. I think it came out February 9th. That was like a week and a half ago. And 4.6 is good enough at crawling that we get very similar results asking Opus to do the crawl versus giving it Screaming Frog files. So when you're using this, delete the Screaming Frog data input. Just tell it, hey, here's my domain, go crawl the domain. The rest of the prompt will be unchanged, and it will give you an output that exactly says, here are the pages that you are missing on your website based on what you have in your Google Business Profile. Okay, perfect. And this is the GBP mirror I was talking about. So the business profile, and yes, I'm using a plumber as an example again. You're right, I should have updated this for real estate, no problem. But we can talk about real estate in more detail. So we'll talk about plumbers here. Primary category, of course, is plumber. That's going to be your homepage. Secondary categories, we have emergency plumber, water heater installation. That's not a secondary category. That's a core service. Drain cleaning, that is a secondary category. Those are going to be secondary category pages on your website. Your homepage will link to those. And then services, which live under each category, will get linked to from those secondary category pages. We're basically building the exact same structure on your website that your GBP has. And this is an example site that we built out. We used AI to build this. It's not a real client or anything like that. But I wanted to show this on the left here. This is the top of the homepage. So the first thing to pay attention to when we're looking at this is when somebody lands on your website. So whether the ChatGPT sent them or whether Google sent them, it's a very important concept to keep in mind when you're writing website copy, is that somebody who lands on your website, like they don't care about you, okay? They have a very short attention span. They're probably gonna bounce in 5 seconds or less unless they find what they're looking for. And what they're looking for is stuff about them, right? Everyone cares about themselves, not about you or your business. If you go and you look at local business websites, so many of them, they start right above the fold by talking, hey, this is the business name, and this is when we were founded, and this is why we founded it. And no one who lands on your website cares about any of that stuff, okay? They care about what you're going to do for them. What's your unique selling proposition? Why should they call you and not one of your competitors? So if you look at the content here on this plumbing website in Gary, it talks about the searcher, what the searcher needs, why the searcher should call this particular business. And then, of course, there's going to be reviews embedded from the GBP. So we always start every client like above the fold. We're talking about the searcher, the person who just landed on this page. Why convert? Why this business? Why now? So most of the people who are watching this, you can probably improve your conversions if you just go and look at your website and think about it, right? Is this stuff above the fold? That's where it's most important. Is the content above the fold? Is it talking about me, or is it talking about the person who just landed on this page? Okay. If you write it about the person who just landed on your page, you're going to increase your conversion rate. Then below that, drainage service, bathroom remodeler, those are the secondary categories. So those are in the H2s, which is just code for subheadings. Then we have a paragraph about the drainage service and bathroom remodeler, and a link, that's the blue thing here at the bottom, a link to a detailed page about that secondary category. And then below that, we have the core services. Every plumber in the world wants more water heater replacement jobs and wants more main drain line replacement jobs. So even though these aren't categories, they're still on the homepage because they care a lot about them. Same thing, H2 mentioning the service name. And this is character for character, the service name that's on the Google business profile, right? Water heater replacement with a capital H, capital R, character for character, the exact same service and the exact same city that's on the Google business profile. A paragraph about water heater replacement, and then a link to a page that goes into that more detail. A common question I get about this structure is, hey, if water heater replacement and main drain line replacement are more important than drainage service and bathroom remodeler, why are they at the bottom, right? And the answer to that is, over the years, we've run a lot of businesses, and we've run Hotjar, other tools like that, where we monitor what people do when they land on a page. And almost all the time, like 80%, people land on a page, they're going to look at the stuff above the fold, they're going to scroll down a little bit, then they scroll to the bottom of the page and start scrolling up, right? So that's why the most important services are put at the bottom. It sounds weird, but that's how people interact with local business websites. So that's why we built this one like that. Okay, so AI changes this. So back in the day, you know, the halcyon days of 2022, before ChatGPT 3.5 came out, I had a team of 13 full-time copywriters. For any of you who have managed a group of copywriters before, you know it's like herding cats. It took a long time. It was expensive. Content was hard, but now it's not. AI does a great job. We have a handful of copywriters. We produce more copy than we used to produce, and it's higher quality. But the catch is, if you open up ChatGPT or any model, frankly, and you say, you know, write a prompt about wholesaling homes, it's not going to rank. The model won't write it correctly. It'll be generic. It won't be useful. It won't be helpful. We instead need to write very specifically to provide value to the user. Google doesn't care if AI wrote it or not. Google cares if it's valuable to the users. Okay? So here's a prompt. This is a single step prompt. The one we use at our agency right now today is a 2-step prompt, but this will get you 80% of the way there. And you can see it's much more detailed about exactly what we want, how we want the AI models to do it, right? So we're going to give it all the necessary information. We're going to give it very clear instructions. A quick tip, a lot of you might know this already, but when you're writing prompts, you'll often get much better results if you tell the AI to role play. So we're telling it, you're an expert at creating content that will improve the results. I know it sounds silly. We're telling it what it knows about Google. We're telling it what we want it to write. And then for the Google algorithm, we're telling it what specifically we want to see in the content for Google's algorithm. Then we're telling it what specifically we want to see in the content for the AI systems. We're giving it the approach, how to actually write this. Then we're giving it the structure of what we want, how we want the content to be structured. We're giving it language guidelines. We're telling it the quality signals, and of course, a very long list of words to avoid. Some of these words like embark, unleash, delve, like these were gone from English lexicon, but they're coming back because there's so much AI writing, and AI loves those words. Okay, so that's a solid prompt. That'll help you get the content blitz. Now let's talk about week 4. We have the content, time for the launch. Okay. We're going to publish everything. Then we're going to make sure all of our new content gets indexed. We're going to source slop, not slop links. And then we're going to keep an eye on the rank map. So I mentioned not slop links. What does that mean? So Google is like, I don't know, like $2 trillion, I think, is the most recent valuation of Google, something like that. Google is, Alphabet, but whatever. Google's a $2 trillion company because its founders, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, thought of the idea of using links from other websites to work as a vote of trust. okay? And the more high quality links that other website has, the more valuable its link to your website is, okay? Now, again, if anyone on this is super boring and you're having trouble sleeping at night, their 1999 Stanford PhD dissertation is public. It's on Stanford's website, and you can read it, and it basically sets out the foundation of Google's algorithm. It's much more complicated now. It uses user engagement signals and all these other aspects, but the foundation is still the same. If you have links from trusted websites, Google is more likely to trust you, okay? So if we think about this from Google's perspective, once ChatGPT came out, suddenly it's dealing with this massive influx of content. So it needs a way to decide if the content is any good, okay? But Google can't read, okay? The algorithm can't read. It doesn't understand good content versus bad content. So the signal it uses to determine that is links from other websites. So that's where we talk about not slop links. You just need any link from any other website that's not a spam website, so that Google sees your influx of content and is just like, oh, this is good content. This is quality content, okay? We don't need anything crazy. We're just looking for like a medium to low-ish quality link to tell Google that someone thought that content was worth linking to. It is not super difficult to do this. It's a fairly low bar, but most people in the SEO space, most of your competitors don't do this. So if you do this, you're going to do better than them. And it's not just Google. The AI models use a very similar method, very similar techniques to decide if content is quality or not, because they also, right? If I wrote something, they would struggle to decide if my writing is higher quality than Ernest Hemingway, which obviously it is not, and any human would know that. But the AI models in Google, they struggle to be able to tell that. They use links, they use mentions to decide if it's good or not. Don't skip this step, okay? Now, topical relevance. I mentioned this a while ago. So when we're building topical relevance, there's this very important metric when we're looking at rank maps. That is your top 3 ranking percent, right? So you run the map, and your top 3% is what percentage of all of those dots are in the top 3, okay? So whoever is number 1 in your space, so whoever the number 1 player is, their top 3% is probably going to be 60, 70, 80, 90%, something in there. You know that you have built enough topical relevance if your top 3 is roughly half of that top player, okay? That's the rule of thumb. So your top player is 70% top 3. You want to build to 30, 40% top 3 by building topical relevance. The core 30 gets you topical relevance, supporting content, answering people also ask questions. That gives you topical relevance. Reddit threads, other industry forums. If you have the full core 30 built, you have all the pages for your categories and services, and you don't have enough topical relevance, that's where you're going to go into Reddit. You're going to find people who are asking questions about your area in your local region, and you're going to publish content on your website answering those questions. You're going to go into Google and find the people also ask. You're going to answer those questions. You're going to go into industry forums, Facebook groups. What questions are people asking about real estate, about wholesaling, about buying houses? Answer those questions, add FAQs, things like that, okay? That's how we build topical relevance. And in case you're thinking, boy, that sure sounds like a lot of time to go and research all of that. It used to, but now we, of course, have a prompt for it. This prompt will not work on Claude. I mentioned Claude cannot crawl Reddit anymore. So to run this prompt, you'll need to use either Gemini or ChatGPT. And what this will basically do is go online to all these forums and figure out what people are asking about your service in your city and organize those in terms of how important and how relevant they are to what you should be answering and publishing content about on your website. Okay? Whew. All right. So, let's talk before and after core 30. So this is a client of ours. It's the same one I showed before, LASIK eye surgery. The one on the left, this is what they look like when they hired us. This is after like 3 or 4 years of paying another agency like $8,000 a month. We built out the core 30, which is a page for every category and service on their GBP. And the after is what it looked like after we did that. So better, but we're obviously not done, right? So what do we do after the core 30? This is where we shift to geographical relevance. So we built the topical relevance, massively helpful for Google, massively helpful for the AI models. Now we switch to building geographical relevance, okay? So how we build geographical relevance? Well, we're going to look at our rank map, and most rank map tools are going to overlay that rank map over a Google Maps image. So we're going to find where we're ranking 4, 5, or 6. Right? We want to be close to the top 3. If you're ranked number 18 and you do a whole bunch of work and then you improve your rank to position 5, that's not worth anything, right? No one sees your business unless you're ranked number 3 or higher. Okay, so we're looking for 4, 5, or 6, close to the top 3, and we're going to write content with this formula: service category, geo landmark, and city. So again, I'm using a plumber, water heater replacement near Wrigley Field in Chicago. And then we're going to write content about that. We're going to talk about, so for you guys, for real estate, right? Maybe we buy homes near Wrigley Field in Chicago. And then you're going to talk about the houses in around the Wrigley Field area, what it's like on game day, what people should be specifically looking for, thinking about if they want to buy a home near Wrigley Field. Like hyper local content is what we're looking for to demonstrate both to Google and to the AI models that, man, this person knows so much about the homes around Wrigley Field, okay? And this is what I'm talking about, right? So we're going to take this rank map on the left, and then we're going to zoom in. And here's what we see: a bunch of 4s. Now, Chicago is great for this because it has a bunch of neighborhoods. So we're going to write something about the Logan Square neighborhood, the Bucktown neighborhood, the West Lakeview, Lathrop Homes, right? All of this. Now, you probably don't live in a city that has as many neighborhoods as Chicago. I think there aren't any cities in the United States that have as many neighborhoods as Chicago. So you probably don't have this many neighborhoods. So you might be thinking, well, what am I going to do near my city? I don't have, dozens of neighborhoods to use. Well, no problem. Remember, we're looking at Google Maps here, and all of these geographical landmarks that Google has put on its maps, Google knows that landmark is in that location. We know it knows because it's literally on the maps, right? So if this wasn't like Bucktown, if we didn't, or Wicker Park, if we didn't have those neighborhoods, I might write, what's it like to buy a home near the Concord Music Hall in Chicago? What's it like to buy a home at the intersection of North Milwaukee and Western Avenue? If I could zoom in more, like this park might have a name, and I'd write something about looking for homes near this park, looking for homes near 90 in California, near this is the Chicago River, it's the Northwest Branch. I might write about that. Any landmark that shows up on Google Maps, you can write about your target service entity and how you do that near that geographical landmark. Am I making sense with that? A lot of people ask questions about what we're doing with georelevance and how to actually do it. So let me give you an example, right? So this is our LASIK eye surgeon. I'm going to give you an example of what it looked like for them when we started like cranking out geographical relevance. So this is what it looked like on the 19th of September. So this is a few months ago. Not bad, right? Most clients would be pretty happy with that, but they're still paying us, so we're gonna do harder. So this is 9/19. Remember that date. This is a week later, 9/26. Pretty close. A little bit better. Then we go to 10/17. No more red. Now it's a bunch of yellow. A week later, 10/24. We're getting a little bit less yellow, more green. We're a month later. We're 11/21. This is 2 months. 2 months after we started this. Now there's only a handful of yellow dots left, so we can really hyper target. We know exactly where we want to produce geographical content. A week later, running out of yellow dots. Now we're in early December. There's one yellow dot, right down there in South Chicago. Let's crank out content about South Chicago, and boom, no more yellow dots. The whole thing is green. And that's really what we're doing on a monthly basis. We're looking at the rank map, deciding where we need to build geographical relevance, because we know we already have so much topical relevance. Like even if we go back to this map, we know we have so much topical relevance. This particular business, it's being recommended by the AI overview. It's being recommended by ChatGPT, because this is wild to me when we did this, when we pulled the data and looked at it. ChatGPT has more in common with Google Map than Google's AI overview has in common with Google's map. Okay. So if you're ranking well on the Google map, you're more likely to be recommended by ChatGPT than Google's own AI, which I just think is wild. But yeah, I mean, this is what we want to see. This is getting ranked by Google. This is getting recommended by ChatGPT. It's getting recommended by the AI overview, assuming we've diversified our review portfolio. We have other valuable mentions. Here's the prompt for the geo-relevance. The way we do this is most every tool that can generate a rank map will give you a CSV file with the data. So we're going to give that CSV file to the AI, and we're going to tell AI, give me a prioritization for where to build geographical relevance target. Right. Something that we see pretty often is there's huge stretches where they're close to the top 3, but like no one lives there, and maybe they're in Scottsdale and there's massive swaths of desert and no one lives there. We don't really want to rank that. Okay. So instead, this will help you organize it by current rank position and by the demographics of how many people and whether they're your target buyers in that specific area. Okay. So that's really what we have here. Now, after the core 30, I've gone through this. It's very data driven, right? We're doing what we need to do to get the AI models, to get Google to trust that your business does what your business says it does, where your business says it does it. We don't produce random city pages. That stopped working in like 2018, so don't do that. We don't produce random blog pages. That stopped working in like 2020, so don't do that. And we do this ongoing link building, these non-slop links, and also a monthly Google News feature. This is basically a press release, but we want to do a press release that hits Google News. Very valuable to both build trust on Google and the LLMs. You want these models, when they search your brand name, you want them to find so many mentions of you that they're just like, oh my God, they're all over the place. That's where this 250 comes in, because 250 is enough to convince the model of almost anything based on the work that Anthropic did. Okay. So how to do this at scale? We talked about this. The first thing, build your website content, core 30. Then step 2, take the content you just built for your website and then repurpose it for some of these offsite platforms, right? So you can take a blog article that you wrote about selling homes near Wrigley Field. You can take that article, give it to Claude and say, rewrite this for Medium's audience. And it will do that. It will be unique. It will still have all of the points, all the hyperlocality in it. And then you post it to your free Medium account, right? Just keep doing that. Same expertise, a slightly different format that's targeted to the average users of each one of these different. And mention your brand naturally. You don't even need to insert links, right? I know the Reddit forum moderators, they've gotten like militant about this because everyone figured out that ChatGPT like lives in Reddit. But we don't need to do anything about links or anything like that. We just need to mention your business name. That's enough to start to build this authority, okay? So don't worry, like the Reddit people are a lot less scary if you're not trying to get links in there. And yeah, this is what we're doing. Phase 1, on-site training data. Phase 2, we're expanding that, the 250 pieces of content, the geographical relevance. And I'll go over that one. And that's what I had.
Dude, this is so good, man. I know as people are taking notes and taking screenshots, lots of good questions coming through. We're going to answer questions, and we wanted to leave plenty of time for questions, y'all. The biggest thing to recognize here is Caleb is laying out a map and a plan. And what I want you guys to do is, even if you don't execute all of it right now, okay, even if you don't execute all of it right now and you execute a third or a quarter over the next month of what Caleb laid out, you're going to be so far ahead of where you were a month ago, 90 days ago, and so far ahead of where most people are in your market. Every time we do the AI search challenge, a lot of the stuff is simple, right? It's not hard stuff, but it's stuff that takes some discipline to go carve out the time to go do the work, right? But when people do that, we see a lot of results, like I was showing before, where people start to really get amazing results from the work. And so let's dive into some questions. And there's a couple things I want to point out. I'll answer some of the questions. Then, guys, what I want you to do is blow the box up. Number one, with love for Caleb, because he just gave a masterclass in about 45 minutes on AI search, and some stuff, like I said, that we've never brought to the community. That's one of the reasons I wanted to bring Caleb on, because he is hyper into the local business, the local search and local business. And so today we talked a little bit more about Google Business Profile, or GBP optimization, in that rank map than we traditionally do at Carrot, because with a motivated house seller, most of the house sellers, of course, are not searching by a location, but they're searching from a location. So if you're wanting to optimize your GBP, that rank map and everything Caleb just walked you through, that's how we make sure that we're getting mentioned in those areas. There's some things that you can do even inside of some of the content that you already have that just starts to mention some of those things, like Caleb said, hey, if your house is near Wicker Park, or it's near this or near this, and to start to build in that context on some of the pages you already have, the location pages you might have. But like Caleb said, the blog strategy over the last 5 years has definitely changed. We're working with some clients up in Ohio and some other areas where they had hundreds of blogs, and even some really, really good blogs that were getting ranked in a ton of traffic. I'm talking this one blog, it was getting thousands of visits a month. It was getting some leads, but not too many. But it was on, he had 4 or 5 topics that were dominating probably 80% of his traffic, on like tax law or probate law. And what started to happen is, because he had so much of that content and it was dominating his organic traffic, Google started to see his site as a tax and real estate legal website, not a cash home buyer website. And so his organic rankings dropped. So the blog strategy, we're going to continue to put out content and training and tools to help with the blog strategy of the future. But let's dive into some content here. And let me pull up something really quick to see if this worked. Here, let me see if it worked. It may work, it may not. So there are some questions about. Okay, cool. And if anyone wants us to dive in and look at your URL, pop it in there. We'll take a couple, and we'll kind of do an analyzation of it. We'll look at your GBP. We'll look at it. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. There were some questions around categories in Google Business Profile. And so, Braden, if you can share my screen here. And this isn't perfect, Caleb. This is where I would love for you to give your feedback on this for sure. So the real estate investors, or like a house flipper wholesaler, they're a good bit different than a real estate agent. So there is a category for a real estate agent. Many of our clients are agents as well. But the one that we recommend as your primary category, if you're a flipper or wholesaler and you don't have your license, it tends to be something like this: real estate consultant. It is probably a good primary category. Okay. Now, if you offer other services, like you are an agent, you offer listing services, you might really look at adding a secondary category that's around that. Now, here's a few things that came up when this client was getting theirs optimized, and you can just go through and what are all the different things that you might offer. Now, they do remodel houses. That's a service that they offer. They offer real estate solutions. They offer repair for fire damage, home buyer services. These are ones that actually came up in Google Business Profile when we were typing it up. These were options that they gave. Maintenance and repairs. We buy houses for cash. You can add more services. There's foreclosure services. There's property investment services. So that they do evaluation around properties. And he is a real estate developer. So now, are these perfect? Probably not. But Caleb, kind of putting you on the spot here, knowing it's an industry that is newer to you. What are some things that people can do on the GBP side of things, let's say as real estate investors, to make sure that they're putting in services that are some of the relevant ones they'll want to have on there, but also on their website?
So the related categories, that's of course where you start and you talk through those related categories. The categories you have to select, right? They're not like free boxes. You can't type anything you want in. Real estate consultant, real estate agency, real estate agent, property developer, property consultant, real estate developer, real estate appraiser could be one, depending on property investment company, property management, a lot of different similar things like that. And then once you have your categories, because those, it's very hard to have AI help you with categories, because AI refuses to believe that Google won't let you type anything you want in the category box. So if you if you go to ChatGPT and say, help me come up with the categories, it's going to give you a whole bunch of categories that don't exist and you can't use. So don't do that. So come up with your categories. You can do it here. Another interesting thing to do is look at the GBPs in your area that are ranking for the types of keywords, the types of searches that you want to rank for, and see what categories they're using. There's a very inexpensive tool that will allow you to see the categories of other GBPs. It's called GMB Everywhere. It's an old tool because it's called GMB Everywhere, not GBP. Google changed the name from Google My Business to Google Business Profile a few years ago. But then once you have your categories, then it's much easier to, again, pull services from your competitors, but you can also help get ChatGPT and say like, hey, here are the categories. Here are the types of searches that I want to show up for. What other services should I put on my GBP? And yeah, then you can really start to fill that out. And you can even, once you get a list of services and categories, you can give Claude or ChatGPT, you can give them all of your categories, all of your services, and then ask Claude or GPT to sort the services by the category that it's most semantically relevant to. And
That's
then,
good.
like I was showing you the prompts before, just tell it, hey, I'm building my Google Business Profile. My goal is to rank for these types of searches. These are the types of searches that I want to show up for. Here are the categories I came up with. Here are the services I came up with. Are there any services I'm missing? And please organize these services by the most semantically relevant category. One thing that you should not do is repeat services. We see that mistake all the time. Don't put a service on your GBP more than once, and don't repeat services that are meaningfully the same, right? Like real estate investor or like property wholesaler and property wholesaling, right? It's the same thing. Don't put both of them on there.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Cool. That's a really good question. There were some other questions about the rank map tool, and so I'm going to pop a link through here. I don't know if you guys can click this. That is a tool I actually got introduced through Caleb. It's affordable. That is an affiliate link, by the way, guys. So you'll help us buy some coffee around the office if you click that and join it. But I think it's like $50 a month or something, and you probably really only need that when you're pushing it hard. Now we are looking at these types of features for our platform as we're really diving deep into the local search marketing world, and we're saying, hey, Carrot is transforming right now as we speak into not just the highest performing website platform for real estate investors and agents, but we're moving into all other markets for home services. And we're saying, what are the tools can we build upon it to make it the best local search marketing platform? We added, if you guys didn't know, we added phone call tracking numbers. So every single Carrot account gets a free tracking number. You can buy more tracking numbers, as many as you want, for $3 a month. We have our AI phone call tracking system that it's a small upgrade, but it'll save you dozens of hours per month. It gives you a full AI summaries, gives you AI scores of your calls, and we're going to be doing a lot more with the AI phone tracking. So what I would encourage you guys to do, if you're a Carrot member, start moving your tracking phone numbers over to Carrot, because coming this year sometime, we're going to be using that content that comes from your client calls to turn into recommendations for content where there's gaps on your sales site. If there's objections that keep coming up on your calls, our system wants to recognize where there's gaps in your website that is not pointing out those objections and blasting those objections with content. And we want to do the same thing with turning those into content recommendations where your website doesn't address those. So get your local numbers on the Carrot platform. You get one for free. Okay, cool. Yeah, D says the main category in real estate and consultant. Yep, that is the category we recommend for real estate investors and flippers. And if you are an agent, then the second category is probably going to be real estate agent. And then there were some of the ones that I just shared there. And we'll go into that in deep detail next week on the AI search challenge as well. Let's go through some more. All right, here. So for the FAQ research prompt, do we insert the info, all the info inside the brackets?
Yeah. Yeah. And most of the info, it's really going to be, right, insert service, insert city. And the rest of it, it'll just run on its own once you put those in. And remember, you can't run this one on Claude because Claude is blocked from crawling Reddit.
Okay, that's a good one. Cool. And I'm going to show Braden really quick. I'm going to show for all the Carrot members or people who just want a better, more effective, higher converting website. It's what we do. So I'm just going to pop over to one of these sites. So this is one that I just built on our new Carrot website builder platform. And what we're testing right now is actually AI-driven websites. We're doing this right now in beta, where someone can go through an onboarder, answer some questions, and our system takes all of your information from your existing website, if you have one, takes the information that you input in. We're going to be, bringing in GBP information and other information as we go with an onboarder, but then we're going to wrap your whole website in unique content that is with a prompt similar to what Caleb had put in there to really write the content effectively for local search. But then once you come in here, if you want to put in, let's say like on this example here, you want to put in FAQ, which we would highly, highly suggest. Every location page that you have in the real estate space anyway, if it's, sell your house fast in Boston and sell your house fast in this other market, and then any core service page that you offer, I would suggest that there be an FAQ somewhere on that page near the bottom. So if you have a website on the new Carrot, it's crazy easy to add them on there if there's not already one on there. If you're on the legacy Carrot platform, which I wouldn't suggest, you don't need to move over unless you want a dramatically different design. Our legacy platform's insanely fast, and you can put FAQs on there as well. We've just made some of the editing easier on here, and they're blazing fast. So right here in the new Carrot, depending on the design option you've got, there's different FAQ sections. You just drag it over, and then you'll take that information that Caleb had, and you'll just plunk it in here. And that way you've got your unique FAQs that are aided with AI, just like Caleb walked you through. So that's where you would put that on your Carrot site, y'all. Cool. Let's go through some other questions. Now I'm going to bring up this slide here again, because there are questions that are coming through. And I want to make sure y'all know that the AI search challenge next week is going to dive in insanely deep to all this stuff. So as we're digging into this, we're going to answer as many questions as we possibly can in the next 15 minutes or so. And then for everybody else who wants to dive deep on it and execute with us, head over there and sign up for next week's challenge. Okay. Caleb, good question, man. So how important is, before we do all this, guys, here's what I want you guys to do is I want you to go to YouTube, and I want you to go straight over to YouTube and look up Caleb's name. Okay. Caleb Olku, ULKU. He's probably going to be the only one on YouTube with a name anywhere near that. So you'll find it for sure. And I want you to go right over here. And this is the payment that I want every single person on this call to give in exchange for the value that Caleb just gave. So we just put it on there. Every single person, drop what you're doing. Head over to YouTube right now. Pull it up. And I'll kind of wait as you guys do it. Type up Caleb and then Olku, ULKU. Okay, you're going to see this profile. And I would love for every single person to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Okay. Everybody subscribe. He's got an amazing school community. I'm a paid member of the school community myself, and there's a lot of good resources in there. It's like $30 a month. So in exchange for all the value he dropped today, guys, subscribe and just soak up the information he's putting in here. Now, a cool thing that we're going to be doing with Carrot this year is we're going to be stepping heavy into serving agencies. So anybody that wants to make extra income or do like what a lot of our investor and agent clients have done, where they've just mastered using Carrot to help people get results, and then they started an agency, we're going to be making this insanely easier for you to go out there and serve local businesses with their product, roofers, HVAC companies, electricians, plumbers, with our product moving forward. And you match that with the information that Caleb has, guys. It's going to be, you're going to be unstoppable to be able to create an extra $5, $10, $15, $20, $50,000 a month, potentially if you hit it hard, or even more as a local search agency. But check it out, guys. Subscribe. If you can, in the comments box, let me know if you subscribed to Caleb's YouTube channel. So pop it in there, blow it up with everyone who's subscribed. Just put subscribed in there. That way we know that everyone's getting subscribed in there. All right, guys. Cool. So let me go back to questions.
All right. How important is domain name? So, and I'm assuming the question there is around something that if you're like a super dork in SEO, you might call an exact match domain versus like a branded domain. If you're buying a brand new domain, generally we're going to buy an exact match domain. If you have an existing branded domain, that's fine. It's not worth changing.
Yep. That's perfect. I like it. I like it. Got a lot of subscribes.
Awesome.
Love
Thank you guys for the subscriptions. Appreciate that.
it.
I remember when I started
Cool.
my YouTube channel, I spent the first like year or so, and the only people watching my videos were like my mother and me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dude, you've been growing fast on it, man. I love it. I love it. So Robin Rob has a good question. Do we need to have a Carrot website to use Caleb's services? Absolutely not. No, you can go engage in Caleb's YouTube channel, take what he's learning, put it on any website system that's going to give you the edge on it. The challenge that we've solved at Carrot, and we have people moving over from custom sites every day, from sites that they try to patch together using Lovable or something like that. We have people using websites they got for free, and they're all in ones that are moving over. Go high level sites are garbage for local search. And like I said, we get people moving over from high level agencies where they paid $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to Carrot, especially through our Carrot Pro services every week. And the reason for that, there's a few things. Number one is speed. So we make sure that your websites are always insanely fast. Out of the box, our new Carrot usually pops 9,900 on desktop, and then in the mid 90s, mid to low 90s on mobile. With some optimization, you can get those up to 97, 98 on mobile as well. The next thing is if you want to have to be the person that's always maintaining the website or paying an agency or at the whim of that agency who built the site, or at Lovable. So if you built the website in Lovable, it might look amazing today, but now you're the person that has to know Lovable, and the person has to maintain that whole stack. If mobile technology changes, we change it immediately so your website stays ahead. Otherwise, you have to rely on an agency or a local or Lovable, whatever, for you to do the work. So we keep the whole tech stack part of it, so you don't have to worry about it. And then we have SEO tools built into the platform as well, all a part of the whole package, and more. But yeah, you can engage in any of Caleb's information and services without Carrot. We hope that it just makes it easier and better. All right, cool. Let's see. Great. Steve's asking a question. Will our Carrot SEO concierge service be aligned? What Caleb taught is extremely, extremely aligned with what we teach in the AI Search Challenge. What he went over even more deeply than we do is the GBP optimization side of it, and the local maps bar. So that's something that we don't dive into. We're not going to optimize your Google business profile, but we'll give you guidance on it. We're not going to build all of your backlinks for you, but we're going to help you find those local links through some of the AI tools that we have to do so. And we are going to do the on-page stuff. So the on-page stuff, definitely, we're going to make sure that you're dialed in for that stuff. And what Steve's talking about, y'all, I'll show this really quick because there were a couple questions people had about, this is great, but where can I get help? Okay. So you can scan this code or go to carrot.com/AI-SEO. You can go carrot.com/AI-SEO. And if you're like, this is great, but I just need some help executing this stuff, I'm not going to have time to do it myself, I would go talk with someone on our team. And the website side of it, the part where it's the dialing of the website, bringing over your trust and credibility, making sure the content and the pages and the services and all those things are dialed in on there, and then giving you guidance on the monthly. We do have monthly services that can help, and we have the one-time builds. So what I would encourage you to do is just go over there, talk to our team, explain your situation, explain where you want to go, and they'll be honest telling you if what we have as a service is going to solve the problem you're looking for, or if it's not. But either way, we've got the do-it-yourself stuff. Go through our challenge next week, do it yourself and with us on those calls. We've got the done for you, and then you can determine if one of those solves your problem, or go work with Caleb, and it'd be absolutely amazing. All right, let's go. What are some other questions? Okay. Here's a good one. So, is it worth having a statewide domain, or forget about that and go local? Here's kind of my answer on it, and I'll toss over you to Caleb. The real estate investor, like wholesaler space, is way interesting. It's way interesting because most of the sellers aren't going to search by like a neighborhood. Hey, sell my house fast in Melrose, Roseburg, Oregon, but they're going to probably type like sell my house fast Roseburg, or sell my house fast while they're in Roseburg. But usually what we see, and the question went away, so I don't have the person's name on there now. But usually what we see is if you are actually going to be a statewide home buyer, meaning you operate in a bunch of cities in that state, and you don't plan to move out of that state as far as your business anytime soon or ever, because you don't want to lock yourself in with your domain to that state if you have planned to expand out. Okay. If you're like, well, I might be a regional home buyer operating these 3 or 4 states within a couple of years, I would not do a domain that drills you down into that state. So do something more broad. Okay. Number 2, if you are going to focus on that state in perpetuity and you have no plans on expanding out of that state and you operate in a bunch of different cities, then yes, you could do a state type of a domain. It could be OregonHomeBuyers.com or something like that. Now, what my recommendation is specifically for this industry is with home buyers, if you are operating in multiple locations, there's probably usually one city that is the city that brings 50 to 80% of your revenue, right? It's the majority of your revenue. So we would usually recommend that your homepage is optimized for that city, your primary market, the one that you want the best rankings for, the one that you want to tie your business entity to mostly. We would suggest that your homepage is primarily optimized for that. You can always have a state page. It may or may not give you lots of value in today's SEO world. But then you would create location pages or city pages for each one of those other cities that you buy homes in. So that's my recommendation for the real estate investor specifically. But for let's say Caleb, it's a statewide plumber. What would you suggest there, domain wise, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, in almost every case, the answer that I'm going to give is to go local, for very similar reasons that you said, Trevor. And even if you do provide services across the entire state, even if you're going for AI ranking and not going for like GBP ranking, most of the time, the buyer intent, what they're going to prompt that model with, is going to be hyper local, not like, hey, help me sell my house, it's in Louisiana. They're going to say, hey, help me sell my house, it's in New Orleans or in this specific part of New Orleans. So in most cases, local is going to be much easier and faster to get that recommendation, because you have to think about it, right? If you are targeting statewide domain, then you're competing with everyone in that state, right? So if somebody says, help me sell my house in New Orleans, you're competing with everyone in New Orleans plus everyone for the state of Louisiana.
Yep.
Whereas if you're only saying like, hey, we serve the French Quarter, I'm in New Orleans and yesterday was Mardi Gras. So anyway, cool. If you're like, hey, we serve the French Quarter of New Orleans only and that's it, then when somebody says, hey, I have a property in the quarter that I want to sell, you have so much more local relevance because that's all that you've been talking about. It's much harder to build local relevance across an entire state. And you might be able to get there. So even if your goal eventually one day is to cover the whole state, I would still recommend, okay, start with one city and then build it from there once you build the relevance for that city.
Yep. I love it. Love it. There's a few of the good questions up here. And like I said, guys, there are some nuances for sure for the house, like the cash home buyer we found over the last 13 years than like the plumber and electrician. So this question from Dave didn't Caleb mention city specific pages are less relevant and now a thing of the past? So I want you to address that first, Caleb, then I'll kind of take the real estate investor angle from it if there's anything that's different there.
Sure. So specifically, when I say city-specific pages, what I mean is something like, home buying in city name or something like that. And then you just, you take your shotgun approach and you publish 100 of these pages on your domain where what you're mainly doing is just changing the city name. Okay. Like that really just doesn't work. And in August of 2025, Google released an algorithm update that actually started to consider Google calls those city gate pages. Google released an algorithm update that started to consider large numbers of city gate pages as spammy content. This had massive ramifications for businesses like Angie's, for example, because Angie's entire strategy was ranking for plumber city name in 30,000 different cities across the United States. And they did that by creating an insane number of these city pages. So we know, because a lot of our clients are buying leads everywhere they can get them. So they're buying leads from Angie's. In August, when that update rolled out, they went from spending, $10,000 a month on Angie's leads to like $2,000. And not because they reduced their spend, but because the number of leads that Angie had to sell plummeted. Because a lot of that style of content just doesn't work anymore. So that, yeah, that I would certainly not suggest producing hundreds of city pages like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and I'll back that up as well, as far as the producing hundreds. And yeah, there's a nuance that we found in this space which is interesting. So if you look at Zillow.com, like Zillow, ranks for top 3 probably for any like homes for sale, whatever city, right?
Yep.
But then they drill it down into the neighborhoods. They drill it down into the types of homes or the types of properties as well. So they take it even deeper, like Caleb was saying, kind of personalize it for that area a lot more, and shows that they have context and expertise. The one thing that we found there, Zillow, LoopNet, the location pages or those city pages, if you were to Google somehow or homes for sale in Roseburg as an example, Zillow is going to pop up there with their Roseburg page, right? The thing that we found is, I've always been a big advocate that if you are going to create pages specific for the different the different markets you're in, that we're not just copying that page straight up and using the exact same content. And so when you look at Zillow, even though their template for the page is the same, the URL structure is the same, one city to the next. If you look at this city versus that city on the page, their headlines pretty much 70% the same, except for they dynamically insert some locations and some other things. The rest of the content's different because they're populating in all unique content for that market. They're populating in properties, things like that. They have neighborhood mentions on it. So on that page at the bottom, then you can click another 5 or 6 links to go deeper in that city and click into the neighborhoods. And that's something that, as Caleb was showing the local map ranking, that's something I would really encourage people to do on your city pages. Is city pages in this particular market work well, but where it's not working as well is when you're literally just duplicating that page. And I know that there's been a lot of talk in this last 4 or 5 years in this market of, no, you can just duplicate these, don't have to change anything, it ranks. From day one, we've always said, yeah, it might work that way right now. But if we look at the way that Google wants to deliver information and they want it to be useful, it's not as useful in their eyes, and you're not showing your expertise and authoritativeness if you're literally copying the same page and just changing the city and the state. So add in some local content about that city. Put neighborhoods, like Caleb was saying, that you find on there. Hey, if you're looking to sell a house in this neighborhood or near Gramercy Park or near this or near this, we can help you. In fact, here's a picture of a client that we served in that city that we bought their house on 123 Oak Avenue near the park. Whatever it's going to be like, show real examples, real pictures, talk about real properties in real neighborhoods, and drive that down even deeper. And we're seeing those rewarded because it's valuable. For sure.
100% agree. Like if you look at those types of pages, like it's unique content about that area, about the schools in the area, about the neighborhoods in that area. It's not just these city gate pages that, and frankly, Google decided that they were spam because they are spam. All of you have seen these pages. You know what we're talking about. Just, if you're doing something that feels like it's spam, then you should probably stop doing it.
Let's do that. That's like the rule of the thumb. And I want everyone to print that thing on your foreheads leaving this call, because there's always going to be new takes and new angles on SEO, right? But the thing we've been saying for the life of Carrot, and the reason we haven't adopted certain strategies that other people are pushing in our market sometimes, is we go, well, we're going to adopt things and build them into our platform that we believe are going to work in 10 years. Not things that are only working in a year or two. Because when you're serving 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 clients, yes, we can take every whim of SEO and we can do this thing and help you do this and all that stuff. But we're going to be like slingshotting you guys back and forth, tackling the next gray hat or black hat strategy because it works for 9 months or 24 months. One of those things that popped up a year and a half, 2 years ago is right when GPT came aboard. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, I can create like 100 times more content now. And so they would get all smart with their prompts and all this stuff. And then there were some guys who were creating literally 30, 50 blog posts a day, and they're posting them on the website. I go, okay, I mean, you can do that. And then they're showing their ranking report just skyrocket, right? They're just getting confirmation because they're getting skyrocket. I'm okay. But if I were a betting man, I'll place a $10,000 bet that things are going to go the opposite direction within 12 to 18 months. And every one of those examples that I remember where they were doing it at scale, it happened. It completely torpedoed because Google catches on to that stuff and they go, well, that's not useful. It's not helpful. It's not the things we want to serve up to our prospects. So I love that quote that you had mentioned. If it feels spammy, if it looks spammy, if it's not actually useful, actually helpful, showing your actual expertise, your actual experience, your actual authoritativeness, then it's very likely not something that Google or ChatGPT are going to like long-term.
Yeah, and one example of this, I get this question pretty commonly. It's very closely related to that. It's about putting your target search words in your GBP name, like in your business name.
Yep.
So put like, business name and then real estate investor or something like that in your GBP name. And it makes me feel bad. We've tested this many times, and every time we've tested it, it helps your ranking if you put your city name or your target service in your GBP name. But Google says it doesn't help you, and they say that you shouldn't do that. So it works today, but we still don't do that for clients and don't recommend doing it for the exact same reason. And there is a lot of evidence that does open you up to suspensions and re-verifications if you do it. But yeah.
Yep. No, that's 100% correct. D, a good question. I remember back in the day hearing that Google doesn't like drastic changes or edits on your site. Is that still the case? Will rankings drop? I'll give my quick rule of thumb and toss it over to Caleb. It's like, so we're going to have, I think we're going to overlap 80%, 90%. But then with the different experience we have in different industries, there might be that 10% of variance based on the type of clients we serve. So here's my rule of thumb. If you're already ranking on page one of normal organic search, or especially in the top 3 to 4, I would heavily suggest not making giant edits on the page, because Google's already saying, hey, awesome, we like what we see here. I would make small tweaks. Okay, so I would go in there, use the AI Search Challenge training and go, great, how do I now add in some more of my expertise and experience? Maybe you're going to add in there that we've been doing business for 20 years and we bought 1,000 homes here in Louisville. Add that in. Add in that we're a licensed realtor, and link that up to your real estate board page on your statewide real estate board. Maybe you're going to add in some testimonials. Maybe you're going to adjust your testimonials on that page and swap out that image so it's not a stock photo, but it's a real property, and it says, we bought this home from Johnny, here in Pittsburgh. He inherited a house. Click here to see the full case study. You can make those updates, but if you're going to go through and you're already ranking well and you're already getting mentioned in ChatGPT, I would make refinements. I would not do stock, we're going to change 80% of our content. Now, if you're on, like Caleb said, if you're where dead bodies get buried on page 2, page 3, or not getting mentioned at all with AI search, at least in my opinion, here's what I'd like to hear your stance, Caleb. In my opinion, at that point, carte blanche, go make the changes you need to make, because Google's already telling you that what you have on there isn't working. What's your thought on that?
No, I agree, right? So it's really, what is your current rank look like? And yeah, like Trevor said, if you're ranking well, man, don't touch it, right? Only bad things can happen if you're like making huge changes and you're already ranking well. So a common example of this, right? At my agency, we don't have a prompt that writes GBP landing page or homepage content. The reason for that is because when we used to have a prompt that did that, the writing staff would sometimes use that prompt and we'd see massive rank drops. And it's like, well, what did you do? Oh, well, we used the prompt for new GBP landing page content. Why did you do that? They're already ranking. So yeah, we don't have that prompt anymore. We rarely write like wholesale new landing page or homepage content. Those are such important pages. It's fine tuning, making some adjustments, rewrite this paragraph, add the paragraph that talks to the searcher, etc. And yeah, if we run a rank map and, your average rank position is like 7 or 8, we're not going to make huge changes, right? That's still close enough. We're going to do fine tunes. We're definitely going to add more content. We're going to add more pages about topical relevance. We might add an FAQ section. 100% we'll be adding pages about geo relevance. We'll be sourcing third-party links to build the mentions, to build the third-party trust. But yeah, we're not making huge changes unless, we run the rank map or we run a rank tracker and hey, you're worse than page 10. Your local business is ranked, 19th on average. Then yeah, sure, we can burn it down and start over. But that's very unusual that we do that.
Yep, that's good. That's good. There's a couple of questions around the location pages and or city pages, whatever we want to call them. So Jeremy, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. So Jeremy's saying, so how he's up in Washington, how should we then target an area with many cities? Here's my real estate investor specific answer, and
Right.
then same thing. I want to toss over to you, Caleb. So what we had said earlier is, at the end of the day, in the real estate investor market, when we're marketing for motivated house sellers and we're marketing for keyword phrases like a cash home buyer, XYZ state or city, or sell my house fast, or all of those variations of phrases, we're still finding those location pages or city pages are really valuable and they're working really, really well. I think the difference is, and this goes down to another question down below that Dave Brown asked, is it best to delete them or keep it targeted to the biggest cities? Is if you have, so way back in the day, let's say 7-8 years ago, we would create location pages for everything, right? So I live in Roseburg, Oregon. It's a town of 30,000 people or so. We would have a city page for Roseburg, and then Winston is a town of like 4,000. There'd be a Winston page, and Sutherland would have its own page. And Sutherland's 5,000, 6,000 people. And those just really didn't work after a while. They worked at the start, but they stopped working after a while. So then we started focusing on, well, let's really focus on Roseburg as that primary city page, or if Roseburg is your market, that's your homepage focus. And then you're going to mention all those other locations, those smaller markets, those smaller towns or neighborhoods. You're going to have deep context and deep mentions on them. Dude, you could have sections on your Roseburg page, a section like Caleb was showing for the different services. You could have a section on there for, hey, we also buy homes in Sutherland, Oregon. Talk about Sutherland for a little bit. Show a Sutherland picture of someone buying a house. Hey, in addition, in the Roseburg area, we buy in Winston too, and talk about Winston. So yeah, for the smaller ones that aren't really bringing you guys leads, that aren't really even ranking well, maybe I would put more effort into dominating the context of that bigger city you're focusing in on. And then, like Dave said, or like I was saying with Dave, yeah, if you have hundreds of location pages, and once again, you're up in New York and you've got these bigger cities, focus on those bigger cities. You can do the map pack or the map deal that Caleb was showing, see where you're showing up there well. And then you're probably going to be able to start to go, okay, where do I need to remove pages that aren't getting traffic or leads that might be clouding the picture, and put more of that context into the bigger cities. Okay. But once again, Caleb, you very likely might have a different take on this, and I respect it. And don't be afraid to have a different take on it as well, because you have a different set of experience too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. So, and the part of the big question, right? If you have a handful of city pages, the content is unique. We talked about how Zillow talks about stuff that's actually in those areas. That's much easier to do today than it was a few years ago with AI. AI can help you write unique content about these that are actually valuable, right? So that's the question. If like, try to read your page objectively, like from a third party's perspective, or even better, from Google's perspective. I know it's a machine and it can't read, but just try to, like, is that content valuable? If someone landed on that page, are they going to be happy, or are they going to bounce because it looks like spam? Is it providing unique information? Does it have insights that are unique to that area? Or is it just regurgitating garbage, right?
Yep.
If it's valuable, if it's unique, if it adds insights, like I talked about, like, selling a house near Wrigley Field, and why that's hard, because there's 81 baseball games a year, usually because the Cubs are in the playoffs around Wrigley Field, then that is unique, interesting, valuable content about that specific area. Keep it. If you have 100 pages about different cities where you've changed the city name, then you can check it in the Google Search Console. See if those pages are getting any traffic from Google. You can check it in analytics. See if those pages have any sessions. You can check it in a link checking tool to see if those pages have any links. And if they don't have any searches, they don't have any sessions, they don't have any links, and it's not valuable content, then delete it, or at the very worst, make the content better.
Yep. Dude, couldn't have said it better. And that kind of bounces on, we've got a time for a few more questions. That kind of bounces on Dee's question here about the neighborhood side of it. She says, where do you add the neighborhood content then? Once again, Caleb, our industry probably has some questions that you guys aren't used to answering, because it operates on wider swaths of areas versus like a specific city oftentimes. And so in this case, Caleb mentioned it really good earlier, right there with the Cubs example. So in that example, Caleb, would you see that being a part on their Chicago page for selling, sell your house fast in Chicago, that being mentioned on their primary, what we would call location page or city page? Or is that a blog? Or is that okay if it's on both, as long as it's good, unique content?
Here, I can pull up that example page that I showed before. It's for plumbers, but it's the exact same
Yep.
structure that we would use for real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And this was built on Lovable, and I agree with everything you said about Lovable. Don't build a website on Lovable if you want it to rank. The way Lovable builds its websites, the technology it uses to build them, Google and AI bots can't actually render them. So Google sees it as a blank page. You can't rank a page built on Lovable unless you set up like Cloudflare pre-rendering and all this other stuff. Anyway, so if I scroll down, literally what we have is this little link, view all locations. And then this just gives those detailed articles. And yeah, if you're in real estate, you're just going to talk about selling homes or buying homes or wholesaling homes in these like very specific parts around there. Same thing here. So we just need a link to it somewhere so that Google can crawl it and index it. When people say, can I use a blog? Can I use Pages? Google doesn't care what CRM you use. So I don't care what CRM you use whatever works for you. And remember that Google is looking at your website so Google is rendering your website based on the most recent version of mobile Chrome. Okay. It started doing that a few years ago. So whatever your website looks like on Chrome mobile, not the desktop, on Chrome mobile, that's what Google is seeing. Okay. And Google can't click, but it does follow links. So just keep those things in mind when you're building your website out. Build it on mobile first. Check to make sure it looks okay on desktop. Make sure the things that are important, like there's these, I'm sure you don't, Trevor, but there are these fancy effects that people use, like hover over and stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Don't do any of that. Google can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, the parallax or any of those fancy design things, those are things that people will come to us with. They want like carousels were a big thing for a while. Put a carousel in your hero.
Oh, if you want to crater your conversion rate, put a carousel up.
That's right.
That's the fastest way to ruin your conversion rate. We've done this so many times.
Exactly. Let's a couple more questions, guys. I want to respect Caleb's time. We'll get him out of here. What is it? Is it step by houses? So one thing that we'll do is we'll put on this page, Braden, if you can make a note of this, if we can find our replay page for our 11-part high converting website framework training that we did a couple months ago, we'll link up that 11-part high converting website framework training that we did. It was a couple months ago. We'll link it up on the replay page, or the page you're actually on right now. We'll put that as a link somewhere below it, because what we did is, with millions and millions and millions of leads in this industry and tons of heat maps and tons of click maps and split tests, we've laid out for this type of a client. It's very similar to what a plumber is going to be. It's very similar. There's a couple nuances, but we laid out exactly the structure of those pages and the structure of the site on there. So we'll link it up to you guys in there. It's very similar to what Caleb showed, a couple nuances to it. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's a home or property owner usually that's going online to ask a question to solve a problem about their property. And it's human psychology, and people make decisions relatively the same depending on if they're looking to sell their home versus get a pipe fixed. The main difference with that motivated house seller, even versus traditional real estate agents, is because it's a major financial decision. It's similar to like medical or things like that, where it's a major financial decision. We found longer copy actually converts better, because in general, they're wanting to dive deeper on it with a major financial decision versus getting a pipe fixed. And then there's a couple other kind of nuances there to build trust really quick on it. But it's the same pattern of how people think and how the site's being laid out. You would just expand on some of the content based on the resistance that particular lead type has to getting their problem solved. Let's see. What about hidden drop-down FAQ responses? Yeah. So on our system D, all that content is in the actual page content that Google or ChatGPT would read. It's more of a visual thing for the website visitor. So everything in your FAQ, like on that page I was showing here a bit ago, where'd that one go? Everything on that page is going to be content that Google can read. So even if it's hidden like that, the visual, it's hidden for the visitor, so the page isn't crammed with words visually. But Google, ChatGPT, they're picking all this up right here. Now, another thing with that is, we teach this in the AI Search Challenge, is you should have schema. You should have FAQ schema on the page as well. And so we show you guys how to add the FAQ schema using a tool that we have built, and you can get it on your websites pretty easily. And so if you do FAQ, you want to make sure that your FAQ schema, which is just this fancy little thing in the code that tells GPT and Google, hey, we want you to for sure know what these say, so we're going to make it insanely clear for you. You should add FAQ schema on there to double ensure that they don't miss anything. But we're going to teach that next week as well. Let's do one more question. Okay. Cool. So Jeremy's asking a good question. In other words, 5 to 10 longer, high quality pages covering a lot of info, or 40 shorter, smaller pages with info covering only a specific subject. Yeah, I'll toss over to you on that. The context he's giving there, same thing, Caleb, is he's a home buyer in Washington. There's many cities he buys houses in. In your expertise there, longer, more thorough, more detailed, more expertise built into those single pages, or a lot more pages that are thinner?
Yeah, so when we're building out pages, the way that we always think about it is each page we build is targeting one specific search entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that somebody's typing into Google or typing into ChatGPT, and we're going to optimize all the content on that page to rank for that one thing. So the general answer that I would give is 40 pages about very specific subjects, because that makes it easier for the machines to understand what you're talking about.
Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let me go find one more here. And yeah, here's one thing on that as well, Jeremy, because, and this is probably the main thing, Caleb, is we've been looking at serving more local, like your plumbers, your electricians, things like that, where those companies have multiple services, right? Like you showed the one earlier. And so let's say a plumber, they're going to have maintenance, they're going to have emergency repair, they're going to have new installs, they're going to have the heating and the cooling, they're going to have duct cleaning. So they have a bunch of these services. The one thing that as I've had to rack my brain on, as it relates to how we serve the local business, is real estate investors, like the home buyer, tend to have one service. And that's why kind of over the years, we're like, oh, it's a location page, but what it really is, it's a service page for a location. They just happen to only offer one service per location. It's the same service in all the locations.
Right.
So we just started calling them location pages, because it was always hey, sell your house fast. It's a few keywords. That is it. Now there's situations that they can sell their house, help people in probate or divorce or foreclosure or whatever. Those are situations of the service. But that's the thing there, Jeremy. If you guys do offer, let's say, real estate listing services, if you offer renovation services, let's say someone does all those, they're a home buyer, they're an agent, and they're a contractor, you would then have those individual services have a page on for every location you actually do that service. But as a real estate investor, you would have the service in that location, and then you'd have the situations. And you could do a drilled down piece of content on the probate, on the divorce, on the whatever, and then link them together towards that primary service page in that location. Well, dude, last question here. I think it's an easy one for you, but it's a day. We get this one probably 10 times a week, Caleb. Is it worth triggering a GBP re-verification to change anything? But change the primary category in this case from real estate investment company to real estate consultant?
Yeah. Triggering a re-verification is not a big deal. So what we'll often do, if we're going to go in and make changes to a GBP, and Sometimes we'll change the business name, we'll change the address, we'll change the primary category, and no problem, doesn't trigger re-verification. Sometimes we'll go in there and say, we're closed on Christmas, bam, re-verification triggered. So there are major things that if you change them, they're more likely to trigger re-verification: the business name, the address, the primary category. But at the end of the day, you never know.
Yep.
So if you trigger re-verification, so anytime we're going to go and make significant changes to a GBP, we let the client know. We make sure that they're in a position to record the video, because the re-verification is almost always a video. Make sure the documentation is in place, the signs are in place, he has his phone or she has her phone, and they're ready to record the video. Usually they can get this done, and the re-verification only sits there for a couple of days. If the business has been around for a while, it's usually going to go through the re-verification pretty easily. The other aspect is, most of the changes we make to a GBP, we're going to make with a GBP management software that's linked in through Google's API. Those are much less likely to trigger a re-verification than if you actually make changes through Google's own GBP backend. And I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but it is absolutely true that if you use a tool that has an API connection to your GBP, you're less likely to trigger a re-verification than if you edit the GBP directly. Yeah. But is it worth it or not? Well, I mean, that depends on what you're hoping to gain from the change. So that really is a function of it, but you'll usually only lose the GBP for a couple of days if you're prepared to re-record.
Yeah. That makes sense. D, where would you add the neighborhood content on the website or GBP posts? Both, right? You should have content about the neighborhood on that location page or the neighborhoods, and like Caleb was saying, do some sort of content in your GBP posts as well. That way it matches, and that's the main thing that I want people to lock into. What Caleb was saying is your GBP should reflect the website and vice versa. And if you're going to post something there, a service, you should have the service on the website, and it can help with both. Okay. Yeah. There can be brain damage with the re-verification process. I've had one with a client, took 4 months, and it was painful, and it got back. But most of the time, it's not like that, like Caleb was saying.
Yeah, and we've had people who, they've had to record that video 50 times before Google accepted it for the verification. But the good news is, you can record that video as many times as you want. Like, there's no penalty. You can record it 100 times. If Google keeps rejecting it, it's no problem. It's the suspensions that are more problematic. You only get 2 appeals on the suspensions. Yeah.
I like it.
AI, how should separate PPC and SEO landing pages interact? I mean, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I think I've got it. Show my screen really quick, Braden, and then this will be the last question, and then we will let Caleb go. We'll celebrate the heck out of all the content, the value that Caleb brought, and then we'll see everyone on the SEO challenge next week, and Caleb will see you on the YouTube channel. So this is some data that we've got. This is just one of the data pieces. This is for about a month worth of data. This is just motivated house seller website. Well, mostly motivated house seller websites. So this right here is organic SEO. Okay, so you're going to see some pretty high conversion rates on some of these sites here, 40+%. If I were to drill this down into just paid search, and so let's see if this works, because sometimes our little thing doesn't do what I want it to do. So there's paid search. So what we will do is you can still see a really high 30-40% conversion rate on some of these on some of these motivated house seller ones. The biggest thing I want you guys to focus on is this as it relates to your landing page for PPC and SEO. So what we usually do is we will on Google PPC, we're usually going to start off by sending them to the highly optimized location page or home page, because the way our websites are set up is they are set up as lead generation pages from the start. From the home pages, the location pages they're dialed in as mini sites is what I would call them. And so we usually on Google PPC are going to start off just driving to that home page. Now you can create landing pages on our system. There's one that I shared on my Facebook the other day that's converting almost 40% on PPC. And you guys can go find my Facebook account, go follow me, go follow me on Instagram. I made a post about a week ago. If you comment in their PPC, I will send you a video showing you that 40% converting landing page. Here's what I'm going to suggest. On Facebook ads, you're probably going to send them to a landing page. Okay. Because on Facebook ads, we want it to be a little bit more slim. We want it to be a little bit more slim content. Put that opt-in box way up higher. Mobile, about 90% plus of all your traffic from Facebook is going to be mobile. Okay. So we're usually going to be a little bit shorter landing page there, performs a little bit better versus a highly optimized location page or Carrot homepage. On Google PPC, I'm usually going to send to the homepage, like I said, or the location page for it that's set up the way that Carrot sets them up. It's going to convert well. Now, I would split test it if you wanted to against a shorter landing page. But the way that we set them up at Carrot is we want to make it easy for you guys. So start off just driving to a highly optimized location page. It's going to convert. And then if you're getting really advanced with it, use our system to drag and drop, make landing pages, and follow our content. We'll show you guys the stuff that performs the best. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Caleb, dude, I appreciate it, man. You
absolutely.
blew it up.
Thank you. Honored to have been invited, Trevor. Thank you so much.
Oh, man. It was amazing. And the thing that's refreshing too, guys, is just getting another voice that has a whole new set of experience in to add to what we teach. And there wasn't anything in here that was any major contradiction from the way that the real estate investor market works at all. So all the questions about location pages and how we build those out, that's training that we've been teaching the past couple of years as things have been adjusting. The one major adjustment I would say this last couple of years is state pages became less important as far as the ranking, and those location city pages became even more important. But we've been teaching for years. You have your location, build out custom content for it. Don't just duplicate the page. Make sure you're adding context in there about everything you can in that local market. Swap out stock photos, get real photos in there. And then you should have pages that are on those niches of how you serve people, the probate, the divorce, the things like that link to that primary service page or location page. And we're going to keep innovating in that area, guys. But what I challenge you guys to do is go to carrot.com/challenge. All these questions coming through. We've got 8 hours next week to dive into them over 4 days if you're on VIP, or 6 hours over 3 days with the standard. It's only $27 on standard, just $99 for all the recordings and the 4th VIP day and some other cool tools. So guys, I definitely would love to see you there. Steve says, Caleb, is Better Business Bureau importance? In our industry, it is. But if you're a restaurant, people could care less about BBB. They're looking at Yelp. So our clients want to see a BBB deal. And what my suggestion would be is any of those primary places your prospect looks for trust signals, then you're going to want to probably have a profile there, get it set up. It's going to be a citation for you as well. And as long as everything matches, same company name, same phone number, same website, same mailing address, it's going to help strengthen that overall profile. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. We have these webinars each and every month. Our challenge starts in a few days on the 24th. And like I said, guys, head over to YouTube right now. Give Caleb some love, add in and subscribe, and then just engage in anything that he's got going. It's amazing. We'll probably, I have a big feeling that we're going to be seeing Caleb a lot more in this community. So appreciate you, man. Thank you, man.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, guys.